Hello friends, how are you all doing? Okay, so today this is the continuation of Specimen Paper 1 SBL. We are going to answer. I have promised you that I'm going to upload a video on how to answer the specimen paper. So I'll be going through all the questions. There are three questions, right? And the three questions are divided into many parts. So in this video, we'll only be completing question 1, requirement 1, right? All the parts in requirement 1. So when you start with a question, first you have to do is you have to allocate the time, right? So you can see requirement 1A, the first part is for 15 marks. So first I'm going to allocate the time, right? I have set my alarm. Okay, so when my alarm rings, that means we have to finish this question paper. I mean only requirement 1, because requirement 2 and 3 I'll be making separate videos on that, otherwise this video will become very long, right? So this is 15, so 2 minutes per mark, so that means 2 into 15, it will be 30 minutes. Let me write down somewhere. Okay, so here I can write 30. Okay, and here right, I'm going to write I don't know whether I'm able to. Okay, so here it will be 24 minutes, right? 30 and 24. I'm not going to put additional minutes for the 4 marks of professional, okay? Because while you are doing, I will show you how you can get the professional marks, the 4 professional marks, right? Now let's do for B2, so that in between the exam I don't have to keep doing it, right? I'm not going to put any additional for the 2 marks, okay? And for C, it is for 6 marks. That means it will be 12 minutes. And for D, it's 5. That means it's for 10 marks because 5 into 2, okay? And I'm not going to put an additional mark for this one. So all D, I'm going to cover question 1 here, right? So now let's go through the requirement 1 once again. We have went through this. One more thing, when you come to the answer after reading all the exhibits, by that time you might not remember exactly what the requirement is. And many students also have these questions. They ask me whether we have to follow a sequence or we can do requirements in any order, right? It is my, like, it's my own opinion, and even the examiners are saying, right, that it's better to start in a sequential order, right? Like start with requirement 1, then 2, then 3, right? But you can start in any order, whatever you feel comfortable. But I follow, like, I believe, right, it might not be your belief, you might believe something different, you might do in any order, but I always start with the requirements, the order of the requirements, like first requirement 1, then 2, then 3, right? Because there is no choice. This is not, you don't have any option. You anyway have to do all the questions. You anyway have to do all the questions. So because what you have, like when you have to select, right, which requirement is easy, you don't know which requirement is easy for you, because by the time you're reading all the requirements, you are finding which one you'll be able to, you'll be comfortable to do. You're wasting more time because you'll be wasting more time, okay? Because you have to select, this one should I do or that one should I do. And in this paper, if you see, I will just quickly go through requirement 1, 2 and 3. Most of the marks are in requirement 1. Just see 15 marks, 12 marks, 12 marks again, and then for C it is 6 marks and D it's 5 marks. But let's go to requirement 2. It is here. See, it's for 6 marks. Very less, 5 marks, again 5 marks. That's it. And for requirement 3 is just 9 marks and 5 marks. So can you see that most of the marks here, requirement 2 is 22, requirement 3 is 18, and the majority marks, 60 marks is for requirement 1. So it's advisable that you do requirement one first, you attempt that one first, so that most of the marks you can secure there. Because what happens is when with the time, as the time passes, and when you go towards the end of the exam, and when you try to do this requirement one towards the end of the exam, you are likely to panic more. You're going to be in a stress condition, right? You have so much of marks to cover, so much of time to finish and all. So because of that, your performance also will be poor under that exam condition, right? So it's advisable that just see which requirement has the most marks and try to do that requirement first, so that you can secure most of the marks, right? Okay, so now let's start in this video only requirement one. Okay, so just count all, just add all. 30 plus 24 plus 24 plus 12 plus 10, it adds up to 140 minutes. If you add up 140 minutes mean 60 minutes and 40 minutes, that means 1 hour 40 minutes. So this requirement takes 1 hour and 40 minutes, right? It takes 100, sorry, I'm sorry, it takes 100 minutes. So 1 hour and 40 minutes. So let's start with the first one. Okay, since most of the marks are in the question 1A, I will be attempting 1A first. Okay, so let's read the question once again. Always have this practice of, again, first when you get the paper, that time you will be going through the requirements. Again, second time you have to go through the requirements. When you again come after reading all the exhibits, you come to answer your question, again read your requirements, so that you are very clear what you are answering. Okay, so from the information you have collected, draft a section of the consultancy report. Draft a section of the consultancy report. Let me highlight this. For the directors of the DCS company to include the following. It told you what you have to include in that report. For whom you are making this report? For the directors of DCS company. It's a section of the consultancy report. So first thing that has to come in your mind is the format is a report. So you should be very familiar how to write a report. In fact, in my last video, the video one before this, where I was going through all the exhibits, I have explained you how to make a report. There was a report given, and through that I have explained how to write a report, the format and all. Okay, so now first part I, okay, an analysis of the industry and the market which DCS companies competing in using an appropriate model. So it's an analysis of industry and market. 15 marks, 30 minutes, only 30 minutes we are going to spend on this. All right. And what is the professional marks? Just again read the professional marks. It's evaluation skills. Evaluation means the pros and cons, and then you have to come out with a recommendation. Okay. So now let's go. Okay. Just keep this requirement in mind. And also, it's an analysis of the industry and the market, right? So what are the exhibits you need? Here in this point itself, you have to know what are the exhibits before you go and write the answer. So let's go to the exhibits once again. We have already read the exhibits in detail. The exhibits will be at the last. Okay, all your requirements will be first your introduction, then all your exhibits, all your requirements will be given, and the last list of exhibits comes, right? So I have to scroll a little bit. Yeah, this is the exhibit one. So clearly it is, you can see that exhibit one you need, because it is the organizational, what is the subject? Organizational overview, external environment, DCS business model. Of course you need this exhibit one. Okay, so keep exhibit one in your mind. Let's go to exhibit two. Okay, this is about uh, the internal structure and the corporate governance, and also mostly you don't need this exhibit, right? because they talked about the market and the industry. So mostly you don't need this. This is about the internal structure of the company. This you need for the corporate governance and that part. Okay. So now let's go to exhibit 3. Exhibit 3 you don't need for part I, but for second part you need, right? But you might, okay, since it's finance, it's numbers, you might use some of the information from here, right? So exhibit 4, strategic overview of DCS company, right? You need this. Clearly it said that you need exhibit 4. So exhibit 1 and 4 you need. But mostly it is focused on exhibit 1, right? And let's go to exhibit 5. Exhibit 5 you don't need because it's an evaluation of strategy choices. It's not about the company. And exhibit 6, right? It's about a minute, okay, where they talked about how they are annoyed, how they are not happy, why the customer service is not, you know. So you might need this. This is minutes of meeting. You might also need exhibit 6. So you need 3 exhibits. Exhibit 6, exhibit 4, not partly you might need, and but exhibit 1, yes, most of your answer you will get from exhibit 1. Okay, always try to use more than this. Is, you can see the nature of this is one to many, one requirement but many exhibits. So let's start analysis of industry and market. So wherever you can see that there are some kind of analysis of the industry and the market is done, you need that exhibits and using appropriate model. So what model comes in your mind when they're saying you to analyze? Okay, the keywords are here. When you ever you are in a doubt which model to use, always read the question and see what is the keyword. For example, the keyword I've highlighted, analysis of industry and market. What model comes into your mind when you think of this analysis of industry and model? Porter's 5 forces, exactly. Whoever have thought about Porter's 5 forces, please clap for yourself. It is Porter's 5 forces only, right? So now you have to go to the exhibits and see what are the information of the Porter's 5 forces are given about, the Porter's 5 forces, right? The bargaining power of supplier, bargaining power of customer, the substitute, the threat entrance, right? Barriers to entry and the competition, right? So now let's go and see how the answer is framed. So this is the answer, and here this, okay, here they have told that the answer which they have provided is under the exam condition is not possible for you to write all this. It is a lengthy paper. It's a lengthy, like most of they have given many points which you will not be able to cover under the exam condition. It's fine. And some of the answers which they have not provided here, you might have come with some different answer, does not mean that you are wrong, right? If they are applicable to the current scenario, right, then you will get the marks. So you don't have to panic that my answers are not matching with this. You can always check your answer along with this. But my purpose is not to know whether you're correct or you're wrong. The main that you could do for yourself, you can analyze right after you do a paper. Main thing is how to write a paper. What are the points? How to go about writing or answering? What are the techniques you have to use? Right and wrong, you can find it out, right? So first, just see here how they have given here this heading. Can you see background section of consultancy report? Let me highlight it. Background consultancy, what is it? What are you writing? Don't just go and blindly start writing, okay, Porter's five forces, this I'm using Porter's five forces. Porter's five forces talks about bargaining power of buyers, bargaining power of customer, uh, substitutes and all those things. Don't do that. This is not a paper where you have to express your knowledge, right? So don't go and do that. Don't say that you're using Porter's five forces. No need to mention about Porter's five forces at all. What are the components and all? First, write the heading. What are you writing? Is it a report? Is it a presentation? Is it a slide? Is it a memo? Is it a newsletter? Is it an email? So here, background section of consultancy report. You have to write it, right? Later down, they have written as 1 mark per relevant point for discussing any relevant environmental model such as Porter's five forces or PESTEL. Now, you can also use PESTEL, provided that you have enough information regarding PESTEL, regarding political, economical, social, technological, legal, and all those stuff, right? You could use any of this. It doesn't matter whichever method you use. As far as you cover the points which is there in the exhibits, you will get your marks. So don't stress yourself that someone have used Porter five forces, I have used PESTEL and all, right? The points which you mention, see, using a model, they haven't named a model, use this model. So it's up to you. You can use any model. That's not a problem. The problem comes is you have to be technically correct, and also you have to gain your professional marks. So how are you getting your professional marks? This is how you're getting your professional marks. Can you see I've highlighted in yellow? Write a clear heading, but the heading should not be too long. It should be crisp and clear. People should be able to understand by looking at the heading what are you going to write down. Okay, so 1 mark per relevant point. Okay, introduction. Can you see this? Introduction. What they have written here? Again, I've highlighted. Introduction. Always write introduction. The first part of this report. This is the introduction. Just one line, one simple line. That's it. Introduction should not be too long. Work on your introduction. If you have a habit of writing too much in the introduction, you need to work on that. Your introduction and your conclusion should not be too lengthy. It could be one line, it could be 2-3 lines, that's it. Maximum, it could be 4 to 5, that's it. Maximum, not more than that. Your introduction and your conclusion. Because which part of your report should have more writing is your middle part, middle section. This is known as your middle section, this one. So let me highlight this also. The first part of this report, analysis, DCS companies. Which company? Don't just write this report analyzes the industry using Porter's five forces. You have to mention the industry. Which industry? Which market? DCS companies market. DCS companies market. Have you seen how they are utilizing their case study? By mentioning DCS company, right? So the first part of this report analyzes DCS companies market and the industry. It analyzes the market and the industry. I will show you how they have got the introduction. You don't have to think too much to write the introduction. You will get from here itself. Let me go to the requirement 1. Right? Just see here. Analysis of industry and market. I've highlighted in yellow. From the word itself, you can pick out. See, analysis of industry and market which DCS companies competing and using an appropriate model. So when you have to write an introduction, okay, you can write this report, or the purpose of this report is to analyze the industry and the market of DCS company using Porter's five forces. Halas, done, finished. That's it. Isn't it very simple? Your introduction, you can pick from your question, from your requirements itself. You don't have to think too much how to write an introduction and which introduction to write. Always pick from use the wordings, use those words from your requirement. Now let's go again. Okay, so that's it. They have used the first part of this report. First part of this report analyzes DCS companies market and industry using Porter's five forces. That's it. Now let's go to the Porter's five forces in detail. This is where Most of your workings have to come in. And one more thing, just see what they have written here, what they have done here. Bargaining power of buyers. See, let me highlight this. Can I highlight in a different color? Okay. Okay, so the bargaining power. Okay, let me highlight this points for you. This is how you have to write a. Okay, it was for 15 marks, right? So under each you can write 3 to 4 points. Can you see? Can you now see how this report is written? How they have reported? Did they write everything in one paragraph or in one this thing? They have divided this using subheadings. They have used subheadings. Use subheadings. I'm again mentioning use subheadings is very important. That's the key. You are writing a report, you have to use subheadings. Subheading is very important. And you don't have to think about subheadings because this report has 5 forces. You know what are the 5 forces. So bargaining power of buyers, bargaining power of supplier, threat up from new entrants, threat from substitutes and rivalry amongst competitors. You have already got a format of your report. Right? This is how you are getting your professional marks. By using a clear heading like this. By using a clear introduction. Then you are using all the subheadings. These are the ways you are getting a professional marks. And let's go through the first one, bargaining power of buyers. Just see this. And just see this. Can you see? There is a line in between. Can you see this? There is a line after this. Can you see that? Why is this line there? If they wanted, they could write everything in one line. But why that line is there? Because, let me tell you, always try to write in paragraphs. At least 4 to 5 maximum 5 sentences or 5 lines should be there. That's it. Don't try to put 10 sentences or 10 lines under one paragraph. Does not look effective. It does not look nice also, right? If you divide into small pages, you will be able to read and retain the information and understand better. But there should be a meaning. Just don't write. Just write. For example, let's say how many lines are here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7. This is 7 because they are writing more points here. But under the exam condition, just keep 4 to 5. That's it. Don't keep more than 4 or 5. It could be sometimes one paragraph might be just one line or 2 lines. It's fine. It's fairly perfect. So don't stress that you are not getting points to write. It's just 1 or 2 line. I have to complete 5 lines. Because I am saying you that you have to write 5 lines, right, under one paragraph. Don't do that. If you're just writing one sentence, also make sure you're including all the key points, and that one line is enough for you to explain your point. Okay, so now let's go through this. Okay, the bargaining power of buyers. DCS is competing in 2 markets. They are using this piece of information from where? From the exhibits. Do you have to use or break your head? Are you getting this information from your textbook? Are you getting this information from your knowledge? Your knowledge is not helpful here. This is what I wanted to show you. Just directly they have picked from the exhibits and wrote here. DCS is competing in 2 markets. This is also given in the introduction, also is given in exhibits. I guess exhibits 1, yes, exhibit 1 is given. DCS is competing in 2 markets. Right? So, you can see, you don't have to read the whole sentence, but at least you can see this. Just see data communication component and the second market. Have you seen how they have divided, how nicely they have divided the two paragraphs? In first paragraph, they mentioned about the first market, that is data communication, the main market. In the second paragraph, they explained about the second market, which is not so major, which is about the network management and support system. This is how you have to divide. This is how you have to use paragraph. For two markets, they're using two different paragraphs. So even if I don't read this paragraph 1, at least if I read paragraph 2, at least I will get information about the second market, right? Maybe I'm interested about the second market. So this is why your paragraphing, right? Dividing your sentences into paragraphs works. It's very effective. By the first word itself from this paragraph, I know what is there. I don't have to read whole thing, but I know what is there in that report, what is there in that paragraph. This is why when you write, you have to divide. Right? For report or memos, you have to write in paragraphs. Even if you're technically correct, even if your points are technically correct, if you're not following the simple little things, writing in paragraphs, writing 4 5 sentences is one paragraph, right? Keeping subheadings, writing proper introduction, keeping heading, you will lose your professional marks. And most of the time I have seen that SBL students who fail SBL is just by 1 or 2 marks. Just they fail at 48 and 49 most of the time. From 46 to 49 they'll be failing. This is the range. Most of the time if you see in SBL, it's not because of lack of knowledge, it's because lack of proper application. Right? So let's go to DCS is competing in two markets. Okay, first we'll read about the first market. In the data communication component market, which is more mature. Which is more mature? How do you know? I have read the exhibits, right? I'm not going to take you through again to the exhibits and show you how it is. You must have gone through it and you must have the paper in front of you while doing this. Keep your exhibits open while I'm going through this answer so that you know how I'm linking exhibits with the answer. You will get this in exhibit 1. So in the data communication component market, which is more mature, they are not saying this information. They are using the case study, proper use of case study. No use of your knowledge for describing. Have they described what is the bargaining power of buyers? Have they described Porter's 5 forces, this? No, clearly they have. You're using the model. This is how you're using a model in an answer, right? So in the data commission, okay, which is more mature and where it has less than 1% of the market share. What is it saying? It is also saying you something. It is mature and it has less than 1% of the market share. Competition is high in this market. Less than 1% of the market share means what? Highly competitive, right? Okay, so it has less than 1% of the market share. It is the supplier of the marginal significance. Okay. Despite 65% of its gross profit or cash contribution being generated in this segment. Right? Let's go up and see. One minute of silence because Azan is going on. Hello. I was silent because Azan was going on, so that's why. Okay, now let's resume. So here they have used 1% of the total market share. Can you see this? 1% of the total market share and 65% of the DCS total turnover. And also this 30%. They have used this. Can you see? Now since I've highlighted this, can you see why I have highlighted how they are using it? Because now since I've highlighted this, I don't have to go through read again all the exhibits to find out where to get the information. I have highlighted, now I can clearly take this information out. So that's what I just wanted to show you. Let me go back. Okay, so here also they have used this 1% market share and 65% as gross profit, right? Despite 65% of its gross profit or cash contribution being generated in this segment. Okay, so its customers in the neighboring single market, 30% with its own currency are likely to demand low prices, high quality and reliability. Because I told you it's a high volume, low price business. So low prices and high volume, high quality and reliability. Okay, they may not accept late deliveries of products. Exactly. Why they will not accept late deliveries of orders? It is very, this also they have taken from exhibit. Okay, because in a high volume low price, right, they will not accept this. In this type of market, customers, they don't accept late delivery of orders, because they know that if they are late, if DCM is late, right, they can go into some other sub, they can go to some other market and get it because it's low price. So it appears that alternative sources, it appears that alternative sources of supply are readily available. Yeah, exactly, because they, since they, in which condition will customers not accept late delivery of orders when they know that they have alternative sources of supply? In that condition, they will not accept late delivery of orders because they know that if they don't get it here, they can get it from somewhere else, right? So it appears that alternative sources of supply are readily available and the switching costs are relatively low. Prices are very low, right? So multinational, I'm sorry. Multinational OEMs have significant bargaining power in this market. Can you see? The multinationals, they have a significant bargaining power in this market, particularly the OEM, which accounts for 40% of DCS current data communication component sales. So you can see the bargaining power in this market. And now let's go to the second market. In the second market, where network management systems are supplied to mainly domestic, this also they have clearly taken from the exhibits. So I'm not going back to the exhibits and showing you how they've got it. Keep your exhibits in front of you. It is taken from exhibit 1. SMEs and few larger companies, the buyer appears to have less bargaining power. This is the key word here. In the first one, you can see they have a high bargaining power because customers will not accept late delivery of products. It means there are many sources of supply. But in the second market, buyers appear to have less bargaining power. Why buyers have less bargaining power? DCS is catering for each customer specific needs. And so each solution is to some degree a bespoke solution. In this condition, when you're having a bespoke solution for customized solution for each customer's requirement, in that condition, customers have less bargaining power in those type of industry, right? So this makes it very much harder for buyers to compare products. In the before one, product one, you can compare easily because less price, high volume. But here it is bespoke. It makes it harder for buyers to compare products and prices of potential suppliers. So alternative sources of supply are much more difficult to find as there are only 3 companies, including DCS in the specialized marketplace. Where have they taken this information from? The exhibit 1, right? Now, let's go to the bargaining power of supply. I hope you have understood that bargaining power of buyers. And let me tell you this, let me announce you, if anyone have doubt, if after explaining this much, if someone still have doubt, they want to clarify, they haven't understood the concept or they haven't understood, you can contact me through my email. I will be giving you in the description below. In the description below, you can contact me through Instagram. You can also follow my page on Facebook, right? Okay, so now let's go to the bargaining power of supplier. Okay, although DCS manufactures 50% of all components used in its data communication products, okay, reducing its overall reliance on suppliers in this sector. So that means who is using DCS itself is manufacturing 50% of the component which they are using. That means this is reducing the reliance on the supplier. It seems unlikely that DCS will be able to exert much influence on its supplier. Right? It seems unlikely. Which provide the other 50%. Right? Because 50% is by the DCS company, they are only manufacturing their own component, but the other 50% is coming from the supplier. So that means it's equal, it's 50-50. So DCS in this condition will not be able to exert much influence on the supplier. Right? Now you tell me, to answer all this, does it require any knowledge from your textbook? Will your textbook help you? Yes, your textbook has helped you. How? Because you should know what is Porter's five forces. What are the components under Porter's five? What are the five forces in the Porter's five forces? Because if you don't know, how will you answer this question? Right? Like, how will you know bargaining power of buyers? What does it mean? How do you answer using it? Bargaining power of supplier, all these components, how will you know if you haven't studied Porter's five forces? So this is how you're using your technical knowledge in a case scenario and getting the marks. So that's why you have to know the technical side. You have to know your knowledge. But your knowledge alone will not guarantee you pass. You have to work on this, the way they are writing. Just see, in this one, it's just 2 lines. Just one sentence, not even 2 lines, less than 2 lines. But it's enough. You can scale, right? So now let's go here. As a relatively small player in the data communication market. Why small player? Already in paragraph 1, okay, less than 1% of the market share. It's a very mature market. There are so many competitors there. Can you see this? There should be some link. Whatever you say in something should make sense in the other part. If it does not, right, then it's a problem. Here you have told less than 1% market share. It should be consistent with this. As a relatively small player, you cannot come here and say it's a very big player. That means you haven't understood the scenario properly, right? You cannot come and say that he has a majority share, he is the one who is competing in this market, relatively large player. You cannot say this. This one has a relatively small player, and this one less than 1% in the market share. They are matching. It should be, right? It's common sense, of course. So as a relatively small player in the data communication market, okay, the company does not have the power to exert buyer pressure on its two large suppliers, either in terms of price or delivery. The company cannot exert pressure. That means, so the current problems associated with the delivery components are having a significant impact on the company's ability to meet customer deadlines and expectations. Right? Current problems associated with the delivery of components. You can see that there are some problems. How can you write like this when you haven't used the exhibits? That's why. Don't just rely. This is not one-to-one. You have to use many exhibits to answer this. Right? They are having current problems associated with the delivery of component. From where did they take this information? This is not in the exhibit 1. I will show you. This is from exhibit 3, I guess, I suppose. Exactly. Exhibit 3. Just go to the other data and just see the percentage of the orders which are delivered late. Just see here. This itself should be able to tell you. In 2012, it was delivered 10 by 5%, and 2015 is delivered 10%. It's increasing. Can you see this? How they have used exhibit 1 and then 3. This is how you have to link your answer using all the exhibits. Don't write, I have used this exhibit, I have used refer this exhibit. You don't have to write it. The examiner will know which exhibit you have used. The numbers they have written in a sentence. This is the skill you need for SBL, which is not there in the other papers. In other papers, you don't have to use so much of scenarios. Just one scenario, and based on that some questions, and for other questions you'll be given some other scenarios like that. But this is an integrated case study. You have to keep on switching from this exhibit to that exhibit, this exhibit to that exhibit, and combine all and form a frame and answer. So because you can clearly see that from 5 to 10% the percentage of order delivered late, what is it saying about this market? Right? See how they have written this. Current problems. It's a problem. From 5 to 10% is not a good sign. Current problems associated with the delivery of components are having a significant impact on the company's ability to meet customer deadlines and expectations. They're not able to meet the customer's expectations and deadlines. Right? Don't worry if in your answer you don't have many of this. You might be having something different, but still, don't lose hope. Don't think you're wrong. Make sure you check, you make sure that your answers are checked, reviewed by your friend or someone whom you can trust, someone you know who is capable of checking your paper and giving you a valuable feedback, an honest feedback. That's very important. That's how you study in SBL. You cannot do SBL alone on yourself. How will you review your own answers? Because you think you'll be right all the time. You need someone who can say, no, you're wrong. This is not the one. This is not the correct way. This is the correct way of writing. You need someone to show. And that someone should be someone who is superior to you. Superior, I mean, in terms of someone who has passed, or someone who is honest, who knows all the techniques and everything, and who will be able to spend their time on you, right? So make sure you get a person like that who can review your paper, and then your works become very much easy, doesn't it? Okay, so correct. Okay, now let's go to the second. Just say this is just one simple sentence. That's it. Suppliers of financial capital. Many lenders have gained more bargaining power. Why they are talking about lenders here? Here they spoke about supplier. Now you must be thinking why lenders came into this picture. See, they are seeing lenders in terms of suppliers of financial capital. They are the one who's providing you capital, no? So in that way, they are reviewing. You might not think about this, right? You might only think about supplier who is supplying us raw materials, components, in that way, in that perspective. But here they have taken, okay, so suppliers of financial capital, namely lenders, have gained more bargaining power as DCS has had to borrow more to sustain their recent growth. Exactly. When you have to borrow more, you know that DCS is dependent on the lender. So in that case, the lender has more bargaining power. Lender can do anything the way they want. They can change the terms, they can change the condition of the loan, because they know even if they change the condition, even okay, still DCS will stick to them, still DCS will borrow from them, DCS will not go, DCS will not stop borrowing. Why? Because they need to sustain their recent growth. This is how you are analyzing, this is how you have to use, right? Now let's go to this paragraph. If labor is seen as a supplier, right? Here now they are talking about, can you see how they have divided in this one? In this paragraph, first one, they spoke about supplier of our component, the raw material. Here they spoke about the lender as a supplier financial. Here they have talked about the labor. This is how you are going to divide your paragraph. So if labor is seen as a supplier, you might not include this in your answer. It's perfectly fine. But the more you include, the better it is. Because just go and see, the requirement is for 15 marks and they have told one mark for 1 point. So if you're including 3 points under 1, okay, there are 5 factors, okay, under those 5 factors 3 points are including under each, so 3 into 5 will add up to 15 marks. Okay, so if labor is seen as a supplier, why, how can labor be seen as a supplier? Because labor is the one who is providing you, because he is the one who is working, right? He is providing you with income, with increase in your income. He is the one who is going to supply to the customer, working on behalf of you. So he's a supplier, right? Then evidence again suggests, right? They are not talking anything based on their own opinion. They are using facts. They are using evidence. You also have to use evidence. So then evidence again suggests that DCS is relatively a weak position, particularly since there has been a limited trade union membership since 2006. There has been a limited trade union membership since 2006. What does it mean? DCS is a relatively weak position. How are they using this limited trade union membership since 2006? It must be in some of the exhibits. I think from 1, 2 and 4. Sorry, 1, 3 or 4. Or even in the minutes, the exhibit 6, the minutes of meeting. However, the union members are mainly in the data communication component division, where employee remuneration and employment rights are already compliant with Biden's national employment laws. Right? The scenario also indicates the difficulty of finding high caliber network staff. This clearly they have taken from exhibit 6. Okay, with the DCS small size and location, making it difficult to attract the key personnel necessary for future growth in this sector. You always need, okay, take any industry, take any sector, your employee, your labor, your staff is your key personnel. Without them, no business can grow in their field. Always remember this. You need a right caliber, a high caliber staff in your industry for your industry to grow. And how they are saying that they are finding it difficult to find the high caliber network staff from exhibit 6. Right? I feel the staff satisfied survey were designed in a way which dissuaded negative feedback and key issues known to be obtained of staff obtained from the informal grapevine was deliberately omitted from the survey question. Here, due to the staff leaving, our sales area getting larger and it's difficult to get around all the customers. Customers are not satisfied, and also they have been threatened that if you don't like working here, why not look for another job? right? And also your staff turnover from exhibit 3. Just see your exhibit 3, the staff turnover from 4 to 10%. Even the employee satisfaction survey, it reduced from 71 to 61%. So all these are saying that it's high to find high caliber staff. Now let's go to the third component, threat for new entrants. This is just in one para, it's fine. You will not get equal points for all the sections, so don't try to break your head finding points. If you are not getting points, leave it and go to the next one. Okay, so DCS is operating in an industry where the cost of entry is significant. Okay, why the cost of entry is significant? How are you saying it? Here, you need to know. You need to have a knowledge. Why? Because it's a, which industry is DCS operating in? It's a data communication network. Data communication network. It needs huge R&D. It needs huge technology in the investment. Okay, investment. So because it is capital and knowledge intensive, it is a capital and a knowledge intensive. This type of industries are, the cost of entry are very high. You highly need to invest in capital. You highly need to invest in technology, the knowledge which you need, right? It's a data communication network industry. So economies of scale compel new entrants to enter at a significant output levels or suffer a cost disadvantage. It's very hard to get economies of scale because the one who are already established in this industry, they are producing at a significant output levels you will not be able to match. A new entrant will not be able to match to that output level. So they will be suffering a cost disadvantage. Furthermore, the need to offer comprehensive after sales support. Yes, in this type of data communication, you need to offer a comprehensive after sales support. Although a problem for DCS. How are they saying it's a problem for DCS? Let's go back to the exhibits, right? No, exhibit 2 you're not using. Let's go to exhibit 1. Okay, so let's go down. Okay, you okay. Furthermore, they need to offer comprehensive after sales service support. Yes, they need to provide after sales support because in the industry which DCS is operating in, data communication network, you need to provide a comprehensive after sales support. Although problem for DCS, right? Right now it will take more time. I have to go and find out from the exhibits. So you have the exhibits, find out how it's a problem for DCS, the after sales support. Okay, does also create a significant barrier to new entrants. So this after sales support, since they have to provide a comprehensive, is also a significant barrier for the new entrants. Finally, okay, so here also they spoke 3 points. The first one is about you have to invest in capital and knowledge incentive. Second is about the after sales support, and the third, exit cost and the barriers such as industry specific knowledge. You need an industry specific knowledge in this kind of industry. Skills and assets reduce the attractiveness of the marketplace to new entrants. Since you need skills, you need assets, you need industry specific knowledge, because of this, entrants are not likely to be attracted towards this industry. Thread from substitutes. there is evidence. Okay. No, yeah. Threat from substitute. There is an evidence that large, successful, high technology companies are particularly vulnerable to ignoring the challenge from disruptive new technologies, which can replace the need for certain high technology products and services outright. Exactly. Here they spoke about disruptive technologies. Right? So that's a thread. In the technology industry, one disruptive technology, new technology can replace the established in technology industry overnight. Overnight. And and you must have heard of many such examples, right? So however, the relatively small size of DCS may give it a competitive advantage in its ability to respond quickly and flexibility to change. Because DCS, small size of DCS means it can respond also quickly and it's flexible to change. They are giving it a competitive advantage. Why? Because when you're a small company, you can respond change, and you're very flexible to change. Quickly you can change, but when you're a large company, it's very hard for you to change. As long as it can attract the right caliber of expertise to achieve this. Okay, now let's go to the last one. Rivalry amongst competitors. I have spent more than 30 minutes in this part because I'm stopping in between and I'm explaining and I'm going again to the exhibits and all, but when you do it, stick to the 30 minutes. Be honest with yourself. 30 minutes, not 31 minutes, not 29, 30. If you spend less time also, it's not good, because if you're spending less time, what happens is maybe you just to finish the paper, you are in a hurry to finish your paper, but you're not making sufficient enough points. So don't do that also. Don't try to finish too early. I mean, what's a hurry? If you have the time, use the time appropriately, efficiently. If it's a 4-hour paper, finish the paper maybe in 5 to 10 minutes earlier, but does not mean that you will finish 1 hour before and just sit and wait there, right? Rivalry amongst competitors. Very different levels of competition are being experienced in the two marketplaces DCS is operating in. It is clear that the high volume, low margin component business offers intense competition, with buyers who are able to use their size to extract favorable prices. DCS only has 1% of this market. The ability of DCS to generate better market share and volume through product innovation in this market seems highly unlikely. Just with 1% in the market share, even if you think to innovate, do a product innovation in this kind of market, it's very unlikely that you can gain the market share or generate a better market share. It's highly unlikely. It's not a good choice. And the intensity of the rivalry in the network management system, they're talking about the second product. Network management system sector is significantly less in the specialized market. Since it's a specialized market, you can see whenever it's a niche, whenever it's a specialized market where not many suppliers are there, the intensity of rivalry is less, will be less. So DCS is dealing with a small number of large and medium-sized users, designing products specific to their needs. In Porter's terms, DCS is adopting a focused differentiation strategy for a niche market, focused. In this low volume, high margin, this is opposite of the first one. First one was high volume, low margin. This one is low volume, high margin markets. So the emphasis has been on increasing the volume side of the business, right? But at the same time, making sure that they have the resources to attract and support new customers. So that's it for the first requirement. We have done. Let's see what the second requirement is asking. Okay, and evaluation, right? Okay, so this professional skill which is given, right? It's not for the first part because you didn't do any evaluation skills there. It's for the second part. You will always be given the professional skills below the requirement, below the requirement where you need to use that professional skill. So this professional skill is not for I, but it's for the second one, the double I. Okay, evaluation of the overall performance of DCS company between 2012 and 15. Let me highlight the whole thing. Everything is important. It's an evaluation of overall performance. Okay, of DCS company between 2012 and 15 from an integrated reporting perspective. What do you have to use? Integrated reporting perspective. Here they are talking, what they're talking about is the 6 capital under the integrated reporting. So now here your knowledge will help you. If you don't know what are the 6 capital under integrated reporting, you are going to lose. Because here you don't have a choice, unlike in the first part where they told you use an appropriate model. You could use Pestel or Porter's 5 forces. But in the second one, you don't have such an option. They have clearly specified from an integrated reporting perspective. So you have to use integrated reporting. They are talking about the 6 capitals. Make sure you know the 6 capital in the integrated reporting. You have to know it. There's not an option of should I know it? Is it compulsory? Nothing like that. You have to know it. It's a must. Okay, so professional skills is for evaluation skills. Okay, let's go. It's for 12 marks. So 6 capitals are there. 6 under 6 you'll be getting 2. So 6 into 2, 12 marks. Okay, so 2 points or 1 point which you explain, you will get 2 marks. It's clear from this which exhibit you have to use. Exhibit 3. Let me go to exhibit 3 and show you. Yes, exactly exhibit 3. Stress of integrated reporting, right? It's clear. So now let's go to the answer and see how they have given the financial capital, manufacturing capital, human capital, social and relationship capital, intellectual capital, natural capital, and the conclusion. You need the conclusion at the end. It's a report, right? Both. Okay, the A is a report. Part I and the second part together you have to talk about in the conclusion. But that will go later. First we'll talk about this. So let's see what they have written here. The following is an evaluation of, you need to mention this by the way. Don't just write financial capital or just start writing. You need this. This itself will give you 1 mark. These are your professional skills I'm talking about. Just writing 1 sentence you will get 1 mark. Think about that. It can make a difference between your pass and your failing. Don't think anything as a joke. Don't think anything lightly. Think everything. Take everything very seriously. Everything I discuss in my videos are for your benefit. I'm talking serious, right? On a serious note, don't take anything lightly. Because if you want to take it lightly, you could do it, right? It's up to you. So the choice is yours. Okay, so the next one you have to spend 24 minutes. Okay. The following is an evaluation. What is it? The following is an evaluation of the performance of DCS against the 6 capitals of IR and how they are being transformed at DCS between 2012 and 15. Very clear, very crisp, very short, but very concise. Just by looking at 1 sentence, I know it's about 6 capitals of IR between 2012 and 15, the DCS performance. They are going to assess against it. How they have taken this line? Again from the requirements itself. The following is an evaluation. They spoke. Evaluate the performance of DCS company using IR integrated reporting perspective. They have just changed the words here and there, right? So this is how you have to use. Okay, now let's go to the financial capital, right? This is another point, another tip. When you're using the 6 capital and when you're in a condition like where you have to use the quantitative and the qualitative features, try to use uh, the the quantitative features, right? Try to use your numbers first, because you need to calculate, and numbers are very easy to interpret, right? It's given there, you can easily use it. But when you have to write theory, you have to think, right? You might be wasting some time thinking how to write and all, but with numbers and all, you don't need such. You can just calculate, and using numbers you can write. It's easy to work with numbers. So always try to finish the number part first. That's why here they have started with financial capital, right? So try it. Could be, right, your choice. You could work in any way, but I prefer working with financial, working with finance, working with numbers. Is It's better to work with numbers first. It's easier also, and it saves your time towards the end. So financial capital, the financial data shows revenues reaching in peak in 2014 before falling away by just over 9% in 2015. Okay. Let me go through this. Just see this exhibit, sales revenue. Just see, from 4.7 it increased to 6.8. Again it increased to 7.4. So this 7.4 is the peak. After that it again reduced. But they just told the percentage. They didn't say. See, when you write also, don't write like this. 2012 it was 4.7 million. Then it increased to 6.8. Then it again it increased to 7.4. Then it reduced to 6.95. Don't write all these sentences. You can just finish all this in one sentence, one line, right? It becomes very hard for the reader to digest this information and to understand the whole picture. Increasing, increasing, reducing, increasing. Don't write that. Clearly they have told that it has reached the peak in 2014 before it fell by 9%. Right? How they have got the 9%? You have to do a calculation just to say that it reduced by 9%. Right? Now, I'm sure you'll be able to find the change that I don't have to teach you, right? So, again, I'm going right here by just over 9% in 2015 before falling away. So, just one line, just see, just one line. Financial data shows revenue reaching a peak before falling by this percent in 15. That's it. Although 2014 was a record year for revenues. Why? Because that year was the highest. Increased cost of sales, right? I'm not going to take you back to your exhibits, because I have clearly told you on that day, right, on the video when I was going through the exhibits, that on your right side, right, what happened to cost of sales, what happens to revenue, increase, decrease, increase, decrease, all those stuff. So right, we saw that cost of sales was increasing, means that gross profit declined significantly, right? So the gross profit margin has declined every year in the period under consideration, and the reasons, see, this is the key. I want to show you this. Gross profit margin declined every year. It's bad. It's not good. Don't mention, never write such sentences for your exam. Gross profit margin is bad. Gross profit margin increase is good for the company. What is good and bad? Don't write good and bad. And they didn't stop with this. Gross profit margin declined. Full stop. That's it. Most of you do that, thinking that you have done an excellent job, but at the end you come to know where you have lost marks. Why? They have wrote this sentence. This is the one which is very important. You need to write this. Let me highlight in yellow for you. Gross profit margin has declined. So what? We know that gross profit margin has declined. Anyone can see that, right? The one even who does not have a knowledge of the finance from a non-financial background can see that information and see that gross profit margin has declined. But what is your job? Your job is to identify the reasons why it has declined. So here they have wrote that, and the reasons for this need to be investigated. That is your job. Why gross profit margin has declined? Everyone knows it has declined, but why it has declined? So this is how you're going to bring insight to your report. This is how you're going to add value to your report. Easily you can write in your report, financial capital, this happened, sales increase, decrease, gross profit margin reduce, that's it, and show some numbers and finish it off with conclusion. Everyone can do that. But this sentences, these are your evaluation skills, and the reasons for this need to be investigated. The rapid fall in 2015, rapidly it falled, suggests that operating costs have not been brought under control. Have you seen this? You need your judgment here. You need your own judgment to answer, write all these lines. This you will not get from anywhere. Clearly everything will not be given in the exhibits. You just have to use the exhibits, the numbers, and you have to write. So the rapid fall in 2015 suggests operating costs have not been operated under control to reflect the sudden sales decline. Now they have calculated the gross profit margin, right? Gross profit over revenue that you could do using the number. In 2015, although DCS seems to have made reductions in overhead costs, finance cost have, okay, see, in 2015, comma, although DCS seems to have made reductions in overhead cost, again, comma, the finance costs have increased despite the fall in revenue. This is a very, very important thing. You need to analyze very critically. Don't just go line by line, right? You are given a sales, cost of sales, gross profit, line by line you are saying this increased, this decreased, this increased, this decreased, this increased. Don't do that. Can you just say just two lines? Just two lines. They are explaining everything. So overhead cost reduced, but finance cost increased. When finance cost increased despite your revenue fall in revenue, it's a very important thing. What are your finance costs, by the way? Your finance costs are your interest cost and interest on your loan. No matter what happens to your sales, no matter what happens to your company profit, you have to pay. That's why it's very serious. That your finance cost needs to be controlled, especially when especially in the event where your revenue is falling. When finance cost is increasing significantly, it's a very big, major problem, leading to a progressive decline in net profit margin in the period under consideration. Can you see how they are linking? How they have started by sales and then they have went to the reasons why it declined. No, then they have calculated gross profit margin and then now they are going to the net profit margin. They directly didn't go to the net profit margin from gross profit margin. Can you see how they are going? How they are linking one by one and going towards the end? This is how you have to do. You need skills to do this. Not anyone can do that. Everyone can understand, but not everyone can write. Link and write. Go slow. Slowly they are building up that. Okay? When you are given, if you are given this type of question in your exam, most of you, I guarantee, will be doing writing sales, writing gross profit, writing net profit, thinking it's over, finished, let's go to the next capital. But just see how they are linking. It's very beautiful the way they are linking it. So I'm sorry that I was speaking too much for such a long time. My throat is paining actually. Okay, never mind. Okay, so after gross profit, they went overhead cost. They went to finance cost. Finance cost is very important. You always have to look for the finance cost, the interest. Okay, and then they went to the net profit margin, and they have calculated also net profit margin. They wrote the. Can you see? Just don't write numbers. Net profit margin and don't write numbers. Write the formula. Just see the formula here. Here also they have wrote the formula. Formula is very important that you doesn't matter whether you know, whether you don't know, you have to write the formula. So that when you use the formula, the examiner knows from where, how you have calculated, from which number you have used. Right? Just write the formula next to it, the way they have written net profit margin. Right? So they have calculated, and clearly you can see from 11.37 it kept reducing to 2.16 even for gross profit margin. But the net profit margin decline is very rapid and it's very, let's just see here. Gross profit is 28.49 whereas net profit is just 2.16. Now let's go to this, the overall. Finally, you need to talk about the overall. You have been talking about the individual item, gross profit, net profit, sales. So overall financial picture is of a company which has failed. What is the overall financial picture? You can get by looking at this. Which has failed to control. So it's like a conclusion you're giving for the financial capital, a semi-conclusion, right? Not your main conclusion, but a little conclusion, overall financial picture. Which has failed to control its core operating and finance cost as it generated revenue increases in revenues until 2014 and as revenues fell in 2015. So all this what they have been doing up to now, they have just explained all this in these 3 lines. Finance costs are increasing as a proportion of a net profit before interest and tax as shown below. All these things are not given there. You need to calculate. You know what you should know what to calculate. What are the most appropriate ratios to calculate for this to analyze the performance of a company? You need a very good judgment, by the way. So you can see from 2005.93 to 1.25 it reduced interest cover ratio. And also they have given the formula. Net profit before interest and tax divided by finance cost. Now let's go to the manufacturing capital. If you can see that the biggest capital is the financial capital. Just see where is the other capital is just few lines. You can just say few lines, right? Let's go to the manufacturing capital. Working manufacturing capital seems to be reducing. How are they saying? Just saying this sentence is not enough. If you're claiming something, if you're saying something is increasing, reducing, something is worsening, something is getting improving, you also need to back up with the evidence. So this is it. This is what I'm talking about. Again, I will highlight it. This is confirmed by the forward contract order book from Exhibit 3. Right? It's reducing. This has fallen from, they have given it. You can go and check in Exhibit. It will be given there. It has fallen from 3505 to 2500, which will require fewer components, work in progress, and finished products needed at the factory. It is also clear that the capital by the investment is slowing from 10 to 7%. Right? Capital budgeting and investment is slowing from 10 to 7% of turnover over the period. The R&D budget is also falling and is at 3% of turnover in 2015 compared with 6% in 2012, which is a 50% decline. This they have calculated. You know, obviously from 6 to 3 means half, so 50%. This statistics indicate, see, this is like a conclusion for them. If you want, you can divide this into many different sentences. That's up to you. But since having just five separate sentences in different paragraphs, it's better if you're having less, right? Then you can put all the 5 under the one paragraph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 lines. So this is like a conclusion. How we had a conclusion for the finance, we have for manufacturing also. This statistics, you also need to put this type of conclusion in the exam. What you understood from the whole picture overall. So this statistics indicate a clear depletion of the manufacturing capital of DCS. Full stop. Go to human capital. Okay. DCS seems to be seeing a depletion of high value human capital. Already somewhere when we were discussing, we told that DCS is finding it hard to find the high caliber staff. Staff turnover is increasing. Staff satisfaction is reducing from 72 to 61%. What is it saying? All these are saying that they seem to have a depletion of high value human capital and morale may seem as low, of course. You can also take exhibit 6 where they were having a meeting. In the meeting they told some of the staff that they're not happy here, they're not satisfied. Only the negative views are omitted and only the positive feedback is taken, right? So all those stuff. So from all those things you understood that their morale is low. Recruitment and succession planning seem to be poorly planned and coordinated. You can take this from exhibit 6, leading to insufficient skilled people being recruited or promoted to replace staff either leaving the company or retiring early. There is just over 15% fewer staff at DCS in 2015 compared with 2012. However, human capital has performed reasonably well from a productivity perspective. Can you see how they are evaluating? This is your evaluation skill. That means you are not just evaluating human capital from one perspective. You are evaluating human capital from many different perspectives. Even for the finance capital, even for this any capital you take, you need to analyze it from many different perspectives. That is your evaluation skills, by the way. Just by saying because your turnover is reducing, turnover is increasing, staff is not happy, you are just saying human capital is decreasing. No, here they have taken another perspective. However, this line will give you your evaluation skills. This line will give you the marks for the evaluation skill. This is how you evaluate. You need to evaluate. Whenever you are given an evaluation skill, remember, you need to evaluate from many different perspectives. Now they are taking it from a productivity perspective. They are saying human capital has performed reasonably well. They are not just saying it, they have data. Analyzing the data, productivity reached a peak in 2014 and has only fallen slightly in the last financial year. Right? Have they said it increased, it reduced, it increased? No, nothing like that. Your sentences also have to be like this. It has to be developed like this when you write. This is why practicing past paper, practicing mocks is very, very important. Now, sales revenue per employee. Just see how the productivity increased. And from 2014 to 15, slightly it reduced, just from 0.81 to 0.72. The sales support element of human capital is not performing well. This is the third element they are taking. Again, this will give you your evaluation skills. This are your evaluation. This is how you're getting your marks for the evaluation skills. Do you have to work extra on that? Are you writing an additional point? No, you're just taking it from many different perspectives. So the sales support element of human capital is not performing well. However, the number of late contracts has doubled since 2012 and the number of complaints from customers have increased from 1.4 to 3.4%. They are also taking customer order because when your customers are not satisfied, when you're getting complaints from your customer, means your human capital is not performing well. That's how you're linking the customer complaints from customer orders with the human capital. Right? Human capital is not only about staff is performing well. You also have to take from different perspectives. Customer complaint, the late contract. All this they have taken from exhibit 3. Under other information, you will go and check. Now, social and relationship capital. Okay. So the social capital measures, what does it measure? Cultural health within the company. And one of the ways this can be assessed is by using staff satisfaction survey. What are they using? Staff. Okay, to know the cultural health of an organization. How do you know? You will know by the way how your customers or how your staffs are happy with you performing, right? So by using staff satisfaction survey, you know how the cultural health of your organization is. Staff are a very important, they are a key in the culture of an organization. So that's why they're taking staff satisfaction survey. The case indicates that employee satisfaction has been declining between 2012 to 15, and the increase in trade union membership may be a symptom of this. Just see how they have linked this two. I just want to show you. I've highlighted this because how they have linked this linking. If you once you understand how to link, no, everything is solved. They have said that the employee satisfaction declined. That's why. So also a symptom of this, they have found the symptom that increase in trade union membership may be a symptom of this. When your employees are not satisfied, then the trade union comes into picture to promote their views so that they get the sufficient right. It is a two separate piece of information, right? Employee satisfaction is one piece of information, trade union membership is another piece of information. How they have linked, how you are going to link is up to you. You need judgment in this. You need to be very skillful. This is how you are going to link. How one statistics is, right, is combined with the other statistic. The case indicates that the survey measures such as confidence in the leadership, opinions about personal growth and individual well-being each year. Okay, so they also say that what the survey is measuring. They are measuring confidence in leadership, opinion about personal growth, individual well-being each year. Since the surveys were launched, the satisfaction ratings have fallen by more than 15%. So overall, if you have to say, you can say that the cultural health of an organization is not so good within the staff. Like the staffs are not happy, they're not satisfied. Let's go to the intellectual capital. Another area where DCS seems to be failing. This is how when you have to write. See, whenever you write your first line under a point, right, under a subheading, because you will not be having so much of time, you will be wasting time here and there. And it's important also that you cover your points. Always write the very important point in the first line itself. Don't wait that you will write the points and finally you will write this point at the end. You might not be getting that time to write this point at the end. So always write at the first, so that even if you waste time, at least you will get 1 mark by just writing that one line, by that first line. You know what's happening to DCS, whether it's improving, whether it's failing. Here they haven't spoke about any numbers, they haven't wrote what happened. They just told where DCS seems to be failing. Itself you can understand what's happening. Failing in its maintenance and transformation of intellectual capital. So this one line, if you want, you can write this line at the end also. But what I'm saying is, it's important that you write at the beginning. Why? Because you will not be able to get the time at the end. But if you're very good time management, if you're very good with your time management, then yes. But still, don't take a chance, don't take that risk. Always write the key words, the key points at the beginning of your sentences, so that if you get more time, you can elaborate and write more points and secure your marks. Okay. There has been a depletion of intellectual capital through skilled staff being either underutilized or leaving the company. This can be related to two areas. You can see the staff turnover and R&D. That is, R&D is reducing, staff turnover is increasing. Here also they have used it to information. They have evaluated from two perspectives: staff turnover and R&D. This is your evaluation skills. Clearly, the stock of intellectual capital is closely correlated to the stock of human and cultural capital, of course. For intellectual capital, you need human and you also need the cultural capital. That's your social capital, right? So DCS seems to be depleting all three of this, and its staff turnover has increased by 150% since 2012. Finally, let's go to the natural capital. Right? It is clear that DCS has a growing carbon footprint, and it is unable to identify where precisely in its value chain the carbon footprint is most problematic. So DCS is not able to identify in which part of the value chain this carbon footprint is the most problematic. The information in the case shows that the overall carbon emissions are increasing. Carbon emissions have risen by 1/3 since 2012. And the case clearly indicates that the main cause of the carbon footprint, they are also saying the main cause, they're not just saying carbon footprint is increasing, they are saying it increased, but the main cause of the carbon footprint is in the data communication component manufacturing division. Why is it so? Why is it so that in this division only your carbon footprint is increasing? Let's see why is it. Okay, this is already a high volume, right? Whenever you have to make a high volume, of course carbon footprint will be more in that kind of business, right? That is more output. So high volume and relatively lower margin sector of the business which will be subject to additional carbon taxes under the government proposal, right? You have to pay a carbon tax. There is also likely to be a greater carbon cost with this sector, as a significant proportion of these components are exported to the nearby continental trading community. It is also exported. For those exporting and all, also there will be a greater carbon cost, right? So finally you have included all the 6 capitals. You'll be getting 2 marks for each capital, and you'll be getting marks for the conclusion as well. Just see how the conclusion is. Introduction was just 1 line. Now you just see the conclusion. How many lines is there? Is it very lengthy? Is it very small? It is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, which is divided into 2 different paragraphs. First paragraph 3 lines, second paragraph 2 lines. This paragraph, and don't think that they just divide the paragraph according to their wish. There is a logic behind the division of that different paragraphs. For example, this is for the first part. Okay, requirement 1A has 2 parts. First part was company and industry analysis of market and industry, and second part was about the 6 capital. So that's how they have divided the conclusion. Now let's see how they have written the conclusion. Conclusion you should be able to write because it is from the information which you already have given. Is nothing new. You're not creating any new information, right? You're not taking up information from any new exhibits. You don't require anything else. You have already done that work. Conclusion is just summarizing all what you have discussed till now. So let's read. DCS needs to be aware of the dynamics relating to its market and industry. You are recommending, it's a consulting, you are consulting, right? It's a consultancy report. So even the way you write, your wordings has to be, it has to sound like you're consulting or you're recommending your client, right? So DCS needs to be aware. These are the words which you use when you recommend someone, when you advise someone, when you consult someone. So DCS needs to be aware of the dynamics relating to its industry and market, particularly. Okay, so these are the areas where they need to be very aware. Not all, but some. The key areas. Okay, the key points you are going to write in the conclusion. What are they? The power of key customers. Why? Because customers have what? High bargaining power. Particularly the power of key customers, and over the reliance on the 2 main supplier. They have been relying on the 2 main supplier. They need to be aware of this. Okay, it must also be aware of. Okay, it must also be aware of and manage the thread from substitutes, right? So it must also be aware of and manage the thread from substitutes. Of course, they have so much of substitute because high volume, low price, right? Manage the thread from substitutes and new entrants in its 2 main business segment. Now let's go to the second part. Second part talks about the sixth capital. So on the company's performance. Okay, now they're judging. They're giving a final conclusion. What is the company's performance against the six capitals of IR? This year's performance in several areas. See, you cannot say whenever you write, you cannot say the performance is very bad, it's a worst performance, it's a very good performance. Overall, I think, okay, you cannot write these words. These phrases avoid. I think, okay, overall, I think that performance is no. What do you think? Who cares about what you think? This is not what you think. This is what you have got from your evaluation analysis you are writing based on that recommendation, not what you think is right or wrong. Okay, so this year's performance in several areas is weak. Okay, you cannot say all the areas. Several areas is weak and indicates a strategic drift which will need to be addressed. So when you recommend someone, this is how you recommend. Adopt this tone, adopt this way of writing for your conclusion. Everyone can work on the main part because that you carry from the exhibits. But when you work on your introduction and conclusion, especially conclusion, you need to adopt all these strategies, right? The tone, the way you are writing, the tone at which you are writing matters a lot. You are a management consultant. Don't forget that. Don't forget what your role is. You are consulting, you are management consultant to whom? To the director of DCS. So when you're talking to the director of DCS, your language also has to be such that you're talking to the director. You're not talking to some lower level stuff, right? So always mention about the company, write the company's name, right? Don't say you have to do this, you need to do this. I think don't write all the sentences. Okay, just that's it. So now I'm sure that you have got an overall picture. And one more thing, for example, here says revenue per employee. This is in $1,000. Whenever you want to omit, like you don't want to write in thousands all the time, right? Because most of you, what happens is when you write deal in thousands or millions, you get confused, right? Maybe you might be putting one additional zero or one less zero. So in order to avoid those and to make it neat and look tidy, right, rather than dealing with so many zeros, you can write here like this, right? So that we know that this is in dollars, this is in thousands, right? We know that 54.72 means 54,720, right? So this also you can do, or otherwise you can write all the zeros. It's up to you, but I prefer this one because this is very neat, saves time rather than writing all the three zeros all the time and messing up with the zeros, right? Working with millions of zeros is very tough, trust me. Always put the signs, percentage, if it's dollar, right? So this is an overall idea. You must have got an overall idea by this. Now you can replicate what you have learned from this to your other requirements, right? This is how. And I have spent more time than the recommended time because I have to explain. So first time when you write an answer, right, you might need more time or you might be wasting time, but you have to work on that, right? So today in this video, I have promised that I'll be finishing the whole requirement 1. But it's not possible because it's now 1 hour 40 minutes I've already passed. So the other parts will be in other videos, upcoming videos, right? So in this video I have spoke about, we have went through this 1A, both the parts of A, right? So that's done. And the next video I'll be talking about, I'll be explaining, we'll be going through B, right? We'll be going through B, C and D, right? So that's it for today. Okay, make the most out of this video, share it in your group, share it with your friends, whoever is currently doing ACCA, whoever you think can get most benefit out of this, do share this video. And also don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Right, I can see that rapid rise in the subscriber. My alarm also is ringing now, so you can see, I can see that rapid rise in my subscriber. Right, I just want to thank you, all of you. Thank you so much, and wait for my next video. Take care, bless you.